What is up, Stoppage Time fans? We have another great episode today with two very special guests, which I will introduce in 1 second. First, we got to get the business out of the way. First of all, we have to thank our great team at All UVA Cast for sponsoring this Stoppage Time show, as well as Striped Hearts Apparel. And a little bit of an extra, some great merch I just got. I got this old 2000-2001 kit, a mystery kit from Sports Universe. They do some great mystery boxes, $55 for a box. I think we have a 10% promotion code going on right now. Get 10% off. Is a nice Barca kit, Ferran Torres. So there's some great kits that you guys can get. But yeah, really good price, $55 for a replica kit. And the kits are really, really nice. I didn't get the Chiellini one, but they had some really, really nice kits out there. I know you got one, Joe.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, they just make great quality stuff. But go check them out. Go give them a follow and go buy some of their merch. They make some great, great merch. But without further ado, let me introduce our great guest. You know the guy below me, the great Joe Cappuccino. I'm not going to introduce him first because we already know him. Marcella is a wonderful Juventina. She has been so gracious to join us tonight. Marcella, how are you?
I'm great, Cliff, and thanks for having me on the show. It's great to be on here and get to know Joe a little bit. And thanks to everybody on the All UVA cast for having me on tonight. I appreciate it.
Well, the pleasure is all ours. So thank you so much again. And Joe, do you want to say a little hi to the people, I guess, since you're here?
Hi to everybody but you, Cliff.
Sick. I love it. So we'll get right into it without further ado. These standings are final. The season is over. AC Milan has won the Scudetto for the 2021-2022 season. Very close, though. Came down to the wire. Inter came in second. Napoli in third. Juventus in fourth. Lazio in fifth. Roma in sixth, and then Fiorentina in seventh. That's how we round it out into going to next season in Europe. I guess the first thing I really want to touch on is Milan. Based on the beginning of the season, where did you guys, and I'm going to start with Marcella first, where did you see Milan at the beginning of the season? And, how surprised or not surprised are you that they ended up first and won the Scudetto?
Well, I definitely saw them finishing top four with us in the beginning of the season. I'm not going to lie, my favorite for the season was going to be Roma. I really thought they were going to, make a big splash this year. But for me, they kind of underperformed, or according to some people, they kind of performed right on target. Maybe I was just optimistic for them. But no, I think Milan had a great, great run this year. I think the most important part was keeping pace after January. That's where you saw, Napoli dropping points. That's where you saw Inter dropping points, and Milan really kept on the pace. So good on them. They had a fantastic season, and we're gonna do all we can to come back next year and show them up.
What a well said statement, Marcella. And Joe, give me some of your thoughts on Milan winning the Scudetto, and what were your expectations going into the season? And kind of, now that they finished the Scudetto winners, what are your thoughts?
Well, seeing as how two of my best friends are both Milanisti, I'm really happy for them. I remember I was wishing them, congratulations, like the good friend I am. But then my friend Eddie, he sends me a message and he's like, shut up, I don't want your congratulations. And he sends me a screenshot of my Serie A predictions from August. I had them in fifth. So I was wrong, but in fairness to me, I don't think that the Scudetto was initially Milan's target. I think that they just wanted to make the top four, and they kind of accidentally won the Scudetto, So, hats off to them. I think Maldini and co did a really good job setting up the team. I think Pioli did a fine job with, the recruits that he had. And so long as Inter didn't win, I think that everybody but Interisti can be happy about that. It was a real struggle this year. It seemed like there was a point during the season where no one was going to grab the league by the horns. Milan kept dropping points, Inter kept dropping points, Napoli kept dropping points. And, that just I feel like that was kind of the tale for a big portion of the season, but Milan came out on top.
Yeah, and you made a great point. You said that you had them in fifth. I think I had them in fifth or sixth too. I didn't think that they were going to keep Going at like this pace, I thought they were going to drop off at some point. And we did see injuries. And I thought, oh, this is going to be the start of where they drop off. But no, they actually persevered really well through those injuries. Whereas another team in Napoli, I thought that they would do a little bit better with those injuries and, some COVID issues. But Milan was the one that actually did do something and kept going and kept the momentum, and Napoli did not. And obviously we saw they ended in third place. So let's actually go to those two teams, Inter and Napoli. First, Joe, I'm going to have you start on Inter. Obviously, you're happy they didn't win the Scudetto, but based on the beginning of the season, where a lot of people had them touted to, have a pretty. I mean, I thought they were going to have a little bit of a drop off because of new coach, a lot of different players losing two of their best players, but they stayed really competitive. They were competitive to the last day, and I thought they were going to win it probably a month and a half ago. I thought it was theirs, and they just tanked. They really just couldn't close it out. So give me your thoughts on Inter and then a little bit about Napoli.
So I mean, I think that you kind of explained it really well, Cliff. They still remained competitive. They were the team to beat this year. They still had a lot of quality in pretty much every position on the field. Inzaghi, I think, did a really good job with, changing the style of the team. Even he still had the same formation set up, but he added something a little bit more into how they played, different from Conte. He also has like a different personality than Conte, so that might have also contributed a little bit to the different results that they had. But still a very competitive team. I don't think that they might be kicking themselves a little bit because they had the opportunity to kind of win the Scudetto and they lost it. But they still came out with 2 trophies, so not a bad season for them. As for Napoli, I think we're also going to get to like that question a little bit later. But I definitely think that they underperformed in terms of what they could do. And from what we've seen that they can do, they just weren't consistent enough to make it all the way to the top. I mean, third place for them, I feel like they were legitimate title contenders at one point. And like I said before, no one was going to like grab this league by the horns. So yeah, I think that I don't think that they'll be 100% satisfied with how their season ended.
Yeah, 100%. And Marcella, give us some of your thoughts.
Well, I'm going to actually start off with Napoli. For me, they kind of overperformed. In August, I had Napoli finishing in 5th. I thought the top 4 was going to be us, Roma, Inter, and Milan. Not in that order, but like any combination of that. And, for a while after January, Napoli really looked like they were going to take it. I thought they did an incredible job. I think they struggled in, the final couple of matches to really, finish the job. But I mean, that happens. You see that happen to a lot of teams like that they start out strong and then after January, they just collapse. I mean, look at Atalanta. Atalanta were such serious contenders for the top 4. And then they wound up finishing in 8th. So the league always is going to have so many surprises. For Inter, I thought that they were going to have a little bit of a better season where they did. I kind of imagined that they were going to start out really strong because, even after Conte leaves, his team always kind of has this reminiscence of him where they're still performing as if he were the coach because they really have that drive and that hunger that he kind of instilled in the team that year that he was there. But Inter drops a lot of big points too, and I think the most important part of the season for them was after their match with us in April. They completely knocked us out of any chance we had in the title race. And after that game, they kind of started dropping. And that was really when they should have taken the league for themselves. But, like I said, there's never going to not be a surprise in this league.
Yeah, 100%.
There were too many of them.
This has been, I've heard Prem people actually say, wow, Serie A might have been the most entertaining league this year. And I think they have been. I think it had the most parity out of any of the leagues. Because we know Prem came down to Liverpool City most of the year. We know La Liga was basically Real Madrid, ran away with it. We know Bundesliga, Bayern ran away with it. PSG ran away with it in Ligue 1. So, I mean, by the numbers, I think City A was the most entertaining league. And to your point, I think Napoli, if they had stayed healthy, which is a big ask to stay healthy a whole season, but the AFCON Cup and the injuries just piled up, and COVID. Everybody had to deal with COVID, obviously. So I'm not going to give them a pass on that. But Osimhen getting hurt, having to come out for that. I think a Napoli fan told me they had a huge drop off in December. They had awful results in December, which really kind of hurt their chances. And I think for Inter, excuse me, a match that really kind of was an indicator for me was their second Derby della Madonnina. I think that was a very indicative result that kind of showed the weaknesses in this Inter side and kind of this fight and this grit out of this Milan side that I haven't seen from them. We saw a little bit of a sneak peek of it last year, but this year really it came to a head and they were able to win the Scudetto. But without further ado, let's get to our favorite team. Let's get to fourth place. Juventus finished fourth place. We're all Juventini here, even though my kit says otherwise. I didn't want to be too much of a homer on this podcast. But we'll talk about Venezia later, too. I'm very sad that they got relegated. But on to Juventus. What did you guys think of Juventus this season? There's been a lot of controversy this year about Allegri, about, Dybala. There's been a lot of moving parts. Ronaldo leaving at the beginning of the season. So I'll have you, Marcella, go first. This season, how big of a failure or how, I guess, or I should let me frame the question like this: Did you rate over? Did you rate over or underachieve this season? And what do you think was the turning point for you?
For me, it was a really, really mediocre season from Juve, and the only reason why I say mediocre is because we actually wound up finishing in the top four. Had we not, it just would have been a complete failure of the season. But, you managed to still qualify for the Champions League, even though I'm not really too sure what we're going to do with that Champions League qualification next year if we continue on this path. But hopefully the Mercato opens up and we're able to, have a few better performances than we did this year. But I basically give Juve a rating of 4.55 this year. It wasn't one of my favorite seasons from Allegri, but I also don't think that you can really blame this season on him. Coming in, he basically had a team that was playing without a system, and he tried to find the best system for the team that he was given. But when Dybala is out, 8 times out of 10, you're really left with not being able to play in the 4-2-3-1 that really suits him, which was honestly our most threatening formation this year. All of the games where we played that formation and Dybala was in, great form, that was when we were truly, truly, truly competitive. But other than that, we have to hope that Allegri brings in some system players and he's able to play the system that he wants next year. And that's when you're going to see, the team really succeed and give Allegri a fair rating. I don't think that you can really give him a fair rating after this season alone.
Okay. And I like how you went really exact with the 4.55. I like that. I think that was really cool. Joe, before I get to you, I did want to say to your point about this team, I feel like also Allegri to a certain extent was handcuffed when Chiesa went out. I think he had to adjust from that. And then when McKennie came out, he had to adjust from that as well. So I feel like there were a lot of adjustments that needed to be made. And it started making him regress even more than what he was doing because he was losing players left and right. No excuses still, but I mean, like you said, mediocre season at the end of the day. And Joe, what do you think about Juve's season this year? Give it a rating because Marcello was so nice enough to give us a rating. Let's get your rating.
3 out of 10. I'm just happy that it's over. I'm glad that we qualified. That's really the only saving grace. The only highlight for me for this year was signing Vlahovic. I was so happy when that happened. But other than that, it's been tough. It's been a very, very tough season to watch. I like what Marcella said, and honestly. I'm glad that you had her go first because I was going to steamroll Allegri. But she's the voice of reason. Yeah, you really can't blame him for a lot of the stuff that has happened. I feel like he was handcuffed. And like Marcella said, he was coming into a team that didn't have a system. What I will say, though, is that I don't think Allegri is the right kind of coach that you bring in when a team needs to be rebuilt. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at right now. He's never had to do that in his career. He's always had a team that was semi set up, and he kind of took that game plan and he ran with it. But like Marcella said, there was no initial game plan. So that kind of exacerbated things, and he kind of didn't have enough of his own pieces to make it work for him. And so we saw him make a couple of mistakes, and they ended up costing us in some things, like the Coppa Italia, where he subbed on a defender when we probably should have gone more attacking, something like that. But like Marcella said, we had injuries. This whole season's been a cluster F. So like,
Thank you for keeping it clean.
I'm keeping it PG, Cliff. Don't worry. It was not pretty. Glad that's over. Hopeful for next season. We'll see what happens during the Mercato.
Yeah, so we got your ratings. I'm going to give it, just because I'm feeling, I don't know what type of mood I am because it was a mediocre season. I'm going to go 3.14159. I'm going to go with pi. That's going to be my number for the season. Very odd number, but I'm going to go with that. And then it seems like the running theme is that Marcella is always right. It seems like that's the running theme of the show.
No, she made sense. It makes sense. It makes sense.
I'm not disagreeing with you, though.
I'm very reactive, and she's very calm. So like that's
why I brought her on. You guys match each other's energies really, really well, and I'm kind of the even keel moderator to a certain extent, whether people think so or not. I like to think of myself that way. But one more question about Juventus before we move on. I'm going to give you guys a question, and I'm going to have Marcella go first. Over under 1.5 seasons for Allegri. Give me over under on that.
Well, I mean, I think we know it's going to be over because we're already past the first season. I don't think he leaves in the middle of the summer.
Well, I mean, like after this season coming, like this whole season.
After this season,
I would say January. Like you mean January, Cliff, right?
I mean, like, so 1.5. So next year's full season, and then a half a season after that. Do you think he lasts that long, or do you think he's over under on that?
Guys, I think he's staying the full 4 years. I don't think we're going. I don't think.
I think Italiano is knocking on the door.
No.
Yes, you want it, Marcella.
He's not an Agnelli guy.
Wait, but that's the thing, is that it's not that I don't want a different coach. I'm saying if Agnelli stays, Allegri's staying. Because I know there's always going to be a little bit of, banter about Agnelli needs to leave, change the management. Agnelli stays, Allegri stays. There's no way that you see Allegri not filling out his contract, because management needs to bring stability right now. You had Sarri came in from a year. That was a complete fail. You get rid of him. You still have to pay him 1 more year. You bring in Pirlo. Pirlo, in my opinion, probably should have been given another season to cook. I really didn't love I didn't think that it was fair what they did to him. But at this point, you've already killed off 2 coaches after 1 year. Allegri's back. You gave him this season to do what he was going to do with it. To be completely honest, he didn't outperform Pirlo, in my opinion, because at least Pirlo walked away with the trophy.
Yeah.
But I mean, now you just have to let Allegri build his team. And, like Joe said, Allegri isn't really a team builder. He's always been given a team that is, already kind of cooking, and he brings them into like the final third. But I think that you just have to let Allegri's 4 years play out the way they're going to play out.
Let Allegri cook. That's what Marcella's saying. Let him cook. Let the man make some pasta.
No, she's saying is that there is no other option but to let him do that.
I don't know
Exactly,
about that.
exactly.
Is
I
what she's
think
saying.
you should have let Pirlo cook, but now
Yeah.
that you have Allegri, you just need to ride it out. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that I'm
Mhm.
happy about a 4-year contract. I think maybe 2-3 seasons would have been fine,
Yeah.
but management did what they did. It's 4 years, and I think we're going to see Allegri for all 4 years, unless a big team comes knocking on Allegri's door and he
Yeah.
decides to leave. Otherwise, it's not going to be management that lets him go.
100%. Joe, give me your quick thoughts on that over under 1.5. What do you think?
I'm gonna be contrary to Marcella on this. I think if we continue on the road that we saw, like the last few games of the season, and we see that continuing, I think that they get rid of him after next season. I
But
think
do you
that
really
would,
think
and they
that's
would
going
buy
to
him out.
happen?
I think it actually will. I think
I
if
think it
Allegri
could. I
continues
think the
this, I think it's
potential
going to
is
give him no
there.
choice.
Because like if any of the rumors are to be believed, that Nedved was like yelling at Agnelli about all this stuff, and Allegri was yelling at both of them, there might be just a hint of bad blood there. Like I said, the possibility is there. I think that we need to see the results, play out first. Because if we continue along this 0 shots on goal, route, they're gonna have to get rid of him and buy him
Yeah.
out. That there's no other option. That cannot continue.
Yeah, I'm
So,
sorry.
I don't think
Marcella.
that's no, it's okay. I kind of went in and cut Joe off
No.
a little bit. No, but
Mhm.
I'm really optimistic for the beginning of next season. I think why Allegri's defensive type of football was just kind of exaggerated by the fact that for half the season we didn't have a striker. I mean, you had
Mhm.
Morata, but you really didn't have a lethal striker.
We
I
also
think
didn't have a true left winger though, too. So that's also a thing.
exactly. But even more so a striker, because Morata, he can't play with his back to the back of the
Yeah.
the front of the
Mhm.
net. He can't do it. Vlahovic can, and Vlahovic needed 6 months to kind of settle in. I can't even give him a fair rating just on his first 6 months here.
Sure.
Next year, I think you bring in a better midfield. You've given Vlahovic a little bit of time to, settle in. I think you're going to see a really, really different type of football from Allegri next year.
I'm
If you
hoping.
let him,
I sure
if
hope
you,
so.
I really don't think this is the football that Allegri wants to play. Everybody's always said that he loves defensive football, et cetera, et cetera. But we saw so many clips of him screaming on the sideline of the pitch, why are you always playing the ball back? He doesn't want the team to play the ball back, but the team was doing it anyway. You know what I mean? Because they had no other
Mhm.
option. Because
Yeah.
if you can't move the ball forward, what are you going to do with it? You're going to play it.
Mhm.
You're going to play it back.
That's a
So
great point.
I really, really can't fairly judge Allegri after this season. I really can't. I'm finding it hard to. And maybe it's because I was such a big fan of him in his
Oh, me
first
too.
first seasons with us. I think he's absolutely incredible. I just think he did what he could with the team. And that's
That's a
what you
great
got this
point.
year.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
for
I
me,
guess we'll see.
I think on the over under, I truly think it's going to be under. I really think it's not like by much, but I think they'll give him the season, and then if it's like the same type of like really, I don't know, really mediocre type of performances, I think we see change. I still don't know what Nedved even does for the team. On that note,
No one knows what Denver
yeah,
does.
exactly. I don't know. He's just like a
No one
cheerleader
knows what
there.
he does.
But yeah, I think I give him a season, and then I think they really consider Italiano. I seriously do.
I
And
don't know. It's not going
Zidane.
to be.
you
It
don't
would
have
be
to
Zidane.
agree. Also, I love Zidane. I would not be mad at
It would be
Zidane.
Zidane.
I'd love that. If it was Zidane over Italiano, I would do that in a heartbeat.
I
But yeah,
just don't think that Italiano has the experience
that's fair.
to really come into a team like Juve, and I think that Juve has really recognized that they can't bring another coach in like that the way they did with Sarri, the way they did with Pirlo. Not saying that Sarri wasn't incredible in his tenure at Napoli,
Yeah.
but that was his only big team. And
Mhm.
Fiorentina is even a lesser team than that. So let Italiano have this Fiorentina team in Europe next year, see how they perform, and
Yep,
then you're gonna have, and then you're gonna really see
you'll
if
get an idea.
Italiano is the coach that he really is. Because honestly, this
Mhm.
is the position where Fiorentina should be.
Yeah,
Fiorentina have a history of being in Europe. They shouldn't be anywhere less than where they are right now. The past
great.
three the past 3 seasons before this is very, very unhistorical of Fiorentina. So I
Agree.
really think you're going to get a better feel of what this team really can be next year.
Great point. And that's a good segue. We'll go to that in a minute. But the last point I want to make on Juventus was putting my Italiano agenda aside. I'm going to say that I always thought that Allegri coming back to the team was to stabilize this team for a couple seasons and then prime this team once it's rebuilt, priming it for a coach like Zidane that Joe mentioned. Once this season or once this team has another mercato to rebuild this team, get some more players in, and kind of develop that chemistry, I think it will be primed for Zidane. In all honesty, I think Italiano is a stretch. I think Zidane is primed to coach this Juventus team at some point in the next 3 to 5 seasons. Um, we'll see though. But you primed us. I won't let you guys. I'm not letting you guys say anything on that. I'm going to let my word be final on this one topic. But you made a great segue to Fiorentina. I want to touch on them. I think they had a incredible season considering they had lost Vlahovic midseason. I think Italiano did wonders with this team. I think Nico Gonzalez was severely underrated this year by a lot of people. I think he did really well, even though the stats do not show it. Marcella, because you mentioned them first, give me your thoughts on Fiorentina and how happy are you that they are back in Europe?
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily want to say that I'm happy that they're back in Europe, but I think they very fairly deserve to be there. Um, I'm a really, really huge fan of Odriozola from Spain. I think he's absolutely incredible. I don't know how we didn't scoop him up before Fiorentina did, but he's probably one of my favorite players on that team. And I think if he stays, then they're on the right track to like rebuilding the team for Europe the way it should be. Because you saw this player play and start for Real Madrid in the Champions League. You know that like he can, and also for Spain, you know that he can grow into a really, really great player. And I think if you start grabbing young players like him, then you're not going to have trouble replacing like that Vlahovic factor
Yeah.
that they had.
Not to mention, he's also been on Bayern Munich. He's been on two of the biggest clubs in the world. He was on loan at Bayern Munich, which is incredible. He's had that great experience. You never know. We've gotten a lot of Fiorentina players on loan to buy options in the last few years, so maybe Odriozola is the next player. Who knows? Joe, give me some of your thoughts on Fiorentina. And I know you're probably not going to say you're happy. I'm happy they're back in Europe. But Marcello won't say it. What say you, Joe?
No, I mean, like she said, that they deserve to be in Europe, and they do have that kind of pedigree going for them, especially in the Battistuta era. They were in Europe and they were beating the likes of Manchester United. It was just like that's what they did. I think Italiano did a great job. I think that he showcased what he's capable of doing, giving the right tools. Like she said, Odriozola, he was another standout for me. I thought that Duncan looked good. I think he also got Piatek, back up and going. And I was just actually looking at the squad. He had a lot of strikers to pick from too. But yeah, he did a fine job. I wouldn't say that. I'm happy. I think that they deserved it and they worked hard to get there. So good for them.
Okay, cool. I guess I'll be the only person truly happy for Fiorentina being back in Europe. That's fine. That's okay. I'll be the outlier in this panel. That's okay. It's nothing new for me to be the outlier. But I think that's really great analysis from both of you guys. And I guess the last thing I want to touch on in terms of the table is this relegation battle. It was so interesting all year long. Salernitana until like the last couple weeks was, everybody was like, oh yeah, they're done. I thought they were done because their team is terrible. But so is Genoa's, Cagliari's. Who else? Venezia. Sadly, they got relegated. So if people don't know, Genoa, Venezia, and Cagliari were the three teams. Thank God Cagliari got relegated in Genoa. They needed to get relegated to kind of, I think, rebuild. I think Venezia got a little bit unlucky in some results, but I mean, the results at the end of the day are all that matters. So they got relegated as well. We hope to see their beautiful kits back up soon. Marcella, or I'm going to have Joe start. I've been having you start a lot, so I'm going to have Joe start on this one. Joe, give me your thoughts on that relegation battle.
I mean, I'll be honest. I thought Salernitana was going to get pipped. I had Venezia finishing up a little bit higher, but it is what it is. Genoa, God, what a dumpster fire that club turned out to be this year.
Yeah.
And Cagliari is a little bit surprising because they actually have some quality players on that team, but they just couldn't. I guess they just couldn't get the results going. They just went from defeat to defeat. So unlucky for them. And the clubs that are coming into Serie A
Lecce.
are Lecce, Cremonese, and Pisa.
Either Pisa
or
or
is it just the
Monza.
top two?
Is Pisa? I don't know if Pisa.
Oh, they have a playoff, don't
I think it's
they?
Pisa Monza.
Yeah,
right?
they have one. I think they have one more playoff to play.
Yeah, it'd be very
So
interesting.
it's
I'd
either
love to see
Pisa or
Pisa in.
Monza. We'll
It's
see.
been a long time since Pisa's been in Serie A, from what I remember. But yeah, Marcella, give me some of your thoughts too on the relegation battle that's been very heated all season long.
I mean, I can't believe that Genoa got relegated because, I mean, I just did not expect that dumpster fire, as Joe very, very adequately put. I did not imagine them, suffering that much this year. And, I think that what a lot of people are kind of like not realizing is that this is the first time in a very long time that Genoa has been in Serie B. Like, this is going to be the first time that you're not going to have that derby between Genoa and Sampdoria. Like that's pretty huge. So I think that's a really, really big blow to the club, honestly. Definitely the biggest surprise for me. Salernitana, you got to ride out the luck, and they rode out the luck.
Yeah.
Cagliari, also sad to see them drop, but really don't have any, kind of indifferent towards them as a club. Honestly, Venezia, very, very sorry to see them drop down. I think that the new management has put in a lot of work over the past couple of years since they've got new owners, and I think that it's kind of sad that the team couldn't follow up on the results and really push to stay in Serie A after a really, really long, hard-fought battle to even get into Serie A.
Yeah. Well, some notes I want to put on those teams before we move on. Venezia won. Their marketing kits were phenomenal this season. I think they got a lot of fans from that, and I think we'll see them back in Serie A very soon because I think they have the structure. They have a proper ownership now to invest in the team. I think they have a good building blocks to build this team and get back to Serie A. Secondly, with Genoa, they have a lot of talent on that team. So it's a lot of young talent with Cambiaso, Portanova, Rovella, and then Vasquez, actually a Mexican center back, very talented as well. So who knows? They could be back up as well, but a little bit disappointing from them. And Cagliari, I think it's actually really good for Cagliari to go down because the quality that was on that team, they should never have been in that situation. So I think they deserve to go down. And now they can get picked apart by other teams in Serie A who can build from those talents and actually improve their teams, from players from Nandes to maybe João Pedro. I don't know if he leaves, but potentially he could leave. Lovato as well at center back. And yes, Salernitana, I have nothing else to say on Salernitana. It's cool that a Campania team is staying in Serie A. My family's from Campania, so I think that's pretty cool. But that'll be the last word I have on that. Now we have a section of the show that we like to call Cappuccino Time with Joey Cappuccino. And obviously with our special guest, Marcella, to chime in as well. These are some fan questions that were sent in on Twitter. We're going to get to them right now. We have Angelo Zara with the first question. A little bit out of the blue. If Lewandowski leaves Bayern, which big three Serie A clubs, Inter, Milan, or Juve, you could throw Napoli in there as well, would suit him best? Marcella, give me your thoughts. Who do you think would suit Lewandowski best?
Wait, it's Joe's segment and I get to go first?
You're the guest, so I'm letting you go first.
I think that he would probably do best at Milan. I think Milan are really going to be looking for, a center forward next year because, Zlatan, he was injured. He really didn't bring a lot of that impact as you expected him to this year. Obviously, you have Giroud, but I'm not even too sure how long he's really going to stay at Milan. In terms of space for him there, not really too sure how much space there is for him, but as a team that would suit him best, I would definitely say Milan. I mean, Inter, not a horrible choice for him either, especially if Lautaro leaves. You're also going to miss some firing attack there as well next season. But I would say that I wouldn't want to see him at Juve just because I would be afraid that he would take too much playing time away from Vlahovic, even though I feel like Vlahovic could probably learn from him and develop from him. Not really too sure if I want to see him there.
Really well said, and I think you made good points for both. And I guess the guy who this segment is named after, Joe, I'll have you go next. Give me your thoughts.
My knee-jerk reaction, because you included Napoli in there, was going to be Napoli, but then I remember they have Osimhen, so Osimhen's kind of like the center of their attack. But the reason why I say that is because Napoli's had a history of just really good, bomber strikers. Like I think of, Higuain, Cavani, those guys. So I think that Lewandowski would continue on that track there. But like I said, Osimhen. The Milan option makes a lot of sense because Ibra is pretty much a senior citizen. Giroud, too. Both of those guys, I think they're on short-term contracts. So, I mean, I feel like the only thing really holding back that Lewandowski mood is probably his wages. But Inter wouldn't be a bad option either. But the talks of like Marcella said, Lautaro leaving and maybe even Perisic not renewing, I think that you're losing a little bit of the service that Lewandowski would get. Not saying that he wouldn't, still, produce, because I think he could. But the Milan option out of those would probably be the one that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I'll take up the line of the teams. First, I think Juventus off the table. I think no shot. I don't think it's a good fit, like Marcella said. With Napoli, they're an interesting one because there have been, rumors that Osimhen, there was a high fee for him and that somebody might be willing to pay it. If that were the case, and if he got sold, I think, like you said, a Cavani, a Higuain would be like a perfect type of fit for Lewandowski, considering he's, I think, 31 or 32, so he's not like Zlatan or Giroud. So I think it'd be a really good fit because he has longevity. He probably has 4 or 5 really good years left in him. And then Inter, if Lautaro, I think the biggest thing, like you said, is finances for them in Milan, because Inter, I don't even know what their budget is because they sold Lukaku and they sold Hakimi, and there's still people saying they probably can't pay their players to a certain extent. So if money wasn't a problem, Lautaro and Lewandowski would be a perfect fit together because you have this big physical bombing striker next to a smaller, more crafty, secondary striker to pair off of him. So I think that would have been an option given the finances if they were perfect. But I think Milan say, no, there's another old striker on the market. Oh, that's what we want. So I think it's just kind of a perfect fit. They love an old striker. It's just the last few years. That's what it's been. It's been Zlatan. It's been Giroud. And I think him or Origi from Liverpool would be a good fit because there's also been that talk of Origi from Liverpool potentially coming in as a younger option. Maybe I think he's like 2 or 3 years younger than Lewandowski. So we'll see. I think those are some really interesting conversations. I just don't think he's going to want to go to Serie A. I have a feeling he ends up at Barca. But that's just me. That's my gut feeling. Next question. Nick asks a couple things. Who are your top 5 Serie A players this season? And thoughts on Venezia relegation and Salernitana staying up. We kind of already talked about Venezia relegation, Salernitana. We already talked about that. So I'll have Joe go first because this is his segment. So Joe, give me your top 5 Serie A players from this season in order from first to 5th.
Ooh, can I just do no particular order?
Whatever, Joe. Just do whatever you want. It's your show, right? Do whatever you want.
I'll say Immobile because he scored a lot of goals. Berardi scored a lot of goals, got a lot of assists. SMS, to me, he was a really standout player. Who else?
Tonali
was really good.
Leao, Magnan.
But actually, I'll throw in a goalkeeper in there. Gotta help those guys out. They kind of get forgotten. I'll throw Magnan in there. He was spectacular.
Okay, Marcella, give me your top 5.
Joe, I'm really not too happy about all of these tweets that I'm getting about the goalkeeper. Mike Magnan definitely goes at the top of my list for
Love it.
top 5 players this year. I think he was absolutely outstanding. He definitely showed every Milan fan, you don't have to miss Donnarumma for nothing, because I'm right here and I'm going to give you much more than Donnarumma could ever give you.
Love it.
So Mike Magnan,
Ouch.
definitely the top of my list. Going down, maybe in no other particular order, I thought Theo Hernandez was another outstanding player this year. Brozovic, absolutely incredible. Anytime a big team went up against Inter, you had to just have a man on Brozovic, because he is just super, super dangerous this whole entire year. Who else had an incredible season?
I was going to say Tomori. Tomori had a really good year too.
He did, but I don't want to give all the top teams just.
That's fair. SMS that.
Yeah, no, we can throw SMS in there. I mean, honestly, Vlahovic before he came to Juve was probably, on his way to being, best under 23 player, if not best striker. I mean, I can't stand Immobile. He does not make my list at all. I'm sorry,
No.
Joe.
Marcella knows ball. Joe does not. That's what we found out here.
No
I
problem.
mean, Immobile. He's a great player, and he scores a lot of goals for
At Lazio.
At Lazio, because he has the faith of the entire team around him, and he's not going to get roasted even if he does make a mistake, which I think really, really hinders his performance at the Nazionale. But that's just a little piece on Immobile. We won't to talk to. I won't get into much about that, because we'll be here for 3 hours.
Well, yeah, we'll have to have a whole other segment about
We'll have another show. We'll have Marcella back.
A whole other show about the Nazionale.
But who else this year had a really great season?
I think that was 5.
I said Mike. I said Theo Hernandez, Brozovic,
SMS and Vlahovic.
SMS and Vlahovic, yeah.
I mean, if you want to give me one more honorable mention, you can give me one.
One more honorable mention. Oh man,
you don't get one, Joe.
I'm hurt.
It's okay.
No, I can't even give one to. I can't even give one to any Juve fan. I can't even give an honorable mention to.
I was going to say Pellegrini,
player, right?
Tammy Abraham, potentially.
Now you're just throwing names out there, man.
Now you're
I thought Pellegrini was really good this year.
Pellegrini was right. He was solid.
The Roma Pellegrini.
Not Luca. What do you think? I'm going to put Luca Pellegrini on my best.
You got to be.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Luca Pellegrini.
Lorenzo Pellegrini.
I said I wouldn't give any Juve players an honorable mention, and you said, "What about Pellegrini?" So I thought you were talking about our.
Now, why the hell would I say Luca Pellegrini?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Specific.
No, absolutely no. Romas Pellegrini definitely gets an honorable mention.
Okay.
An honorable mention in there.
Happy we got that
great.
Out. Let me give mine quick before I have an aneurysm with all of this going on. I'm gonna go flip flop. I love the Magnan shout. Phenomenal season. I'm gonna go lay out a little bit more, because I think he had a little bit more impact with that offense, considering how stagnant the right wing is, and the fact that they have both dinosaurs up top. So I think he put a lot of the weight up top in that front three, or I guess front four if you want to include the Cam and Brahim Diaz. So I'm gonna go Leao, Magnan, SMS. Who else? Probably Vlahovic, and then Tonali or Pellegrini, I would say. I think Tonali, only because he had such a jump from last season. I want to give him a ton of credit. He did so well compared to last year. But we'll move on now. Next one from our friend Georg. Is that how you pronounce it, Joe? I always forget.
It's George.
It's George, son of a biscuit. Okay, George. George, player of the season and manager of the season. Which team underperformed and which team overperformed? Do you guys mind if I take this one first?
No, go right
Go
ahead.
for it.
It's your
You guys are so
show.
great.
It's your show, Cliff.
You guys are so gracious. I love it. So, player of the season for me is Rafael Leao. I think he was phenomenal this year. I think there's also shouts for Vlahovic, given the first half of the season with Fiorentina. I think if he finished the season with Fiorentina, I think he would have gotten them top 5 or top 6. And I think there would have been no question that he would have been the player of the year. Um, Manager of the season, Stefano Pioli. I think enough said. I think if Italiano got this team, I think my note for Italiano, if he got this team top 6, I think we could really give him an opportunity to be in that conversation as well. Which team underperformed? I'd probably say Cagliari. I think Cagliari really underperformed this season. I thought they were more of a mid-table side with that talent. Or you could really go, I think Bologna. I think Bologna really underachieved with the talent that's on that side as well. Orsolini, Musabato, Sansone, like that. There's a lot of good players on that team. Arnautovic had a really good season. And then I guess which team overperformed? I think Verona. I think Hellas Verona really overperformed this year. I thought they were going to get relegated at the beginning of the season. And man, did Tudor, prove me wrong. Their forwards were incredible. Caprari, Giovanni Simeone, and Lasagna to a certain extent. They just went off this year. So Marcella, I'll go to you next. Give me your player of the season, manager of the season, overperforming team, and underperforming team.
Player of the season. I mean, I get Leao, obviously, Scudetto winning team and everything, but honestly, for me, Scudetto aside, the player of the season for me was really Brozovic.
Okay.
I thought this was probably
good
one
pick.
of his. I thought he had a really, really outstanding season this year, and granted, Inter win the Scudetto and not Milan. I think he would have been attributed to a big, big part of that. So just to be different, I'm gonna say Brozovic. Manager of the season, I'm definitely going to go ahead and say Spalletti. What he did with Napoli this year, they did fall short, but
Mm-hmm.
I think he really took the team to a new level considering what they were coming in at, and all the drama that happened at the end of last season. I think he really had his work cut out for him, and honestly, for me, they were the team that overperformed for me because I really saw them struggling this year and not making top 4 at all. So coming in at third and almost really contending for the Scudetto another year, I'm going to go ahead and say Spalletti and Napoli for best manager and team that overperformed. Team that underperformed for me, I'm going to say it again. Genoa was really just like a shocker for me. Like I think it's really, really sad that they're getting relegated this year.
Mm-hmm. I like that you're being different. I really appreciate that because you're not just copying me and you're giving different perspectives. Joe, let's hope you can continue that trend and not make me look stupid by saying that. So let's see you give us some different picks.
I'm just gonna say what Marcella said. No, I'm kidding. For me, the player of the season for me had to be SMS because
Okay. I think it's a great
every time I saw him play, he rarely put a foot wrong. 11 goals, 11 assists as a midfielder. Like, he was working. He was working this season. The biggest sin, and Jerry Mancini's going to hate me for saying this, but the biggest sin is having him stay on Lazio.
Yep.
He needs to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
And come to Juve.
Juve, Pogba, and SMS. Let's make it happen. Let's cook.
It has to happen. Coach of the season, it's hard not to say Pioli. He had a lot going against him. He had his injury, he had the injuries to deal with. He had a bunch of other things to deal with, but he got the team to keep working. So I give him a lot of credit for that. Team that overperformed, that's a tough one for me to really think of.
Juve could be a fair choice, to be completely
Yeah,
honest.
I mean,
It's a surprise
that's
you
it.
made that.
I wanted to avoid saying that, but it makes
Just say it, Joe.
sense.
Say what we all want to say.
It's Juve. I mean, it was certainly underperformed in every single category this season. It was one of those seasons. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And overperformed. I was going to say Verona. I
Just copy
honestly,
me.
I
Just
think
copy
that
me, Joe.
no, I mean, I think Tudor did a fantastic job, but he really, I honestly thought that they were going to be closer to the bottom of the table, but they fought tooth and nail to stay up. So yeah, credit
Also,
to them.
worth
Guys,
noting.
that's the coach to look out for.
Also
For
worth noting
real.
that it sounds like they're going to mutually part ways. It sounds like he's actually going to leave Verona after this season now, or now that the season's over. That's what I've read reports of. I guess
Probably a bigger club.
one quick note though. I want to ask you guys before we move on. Just give me your quick gut reaction, Marcella. Who do you think would be well suited for Tudor?
I mean, give him
Bologna, maybe? Give him Bologna.
No,
I think he
want to
could.
see him at I want to see him at a better club than Bologna. To be
I mean,
completely
there's a lot of
honest.
talent on Bologna. Let's not kid ourselves.
I don't know. I don't even want to say that he should stay in Serie A, to be completely
So
honest.
maybe go like La Liga, maybe go Prem.
Yeah, I think that he really needs a team that obviously not Champions League quality team, but I would love to see him play in Europe, and I would really love to see what he really becomes in the next 2 to 3 years, because I think the coach after Allegri, we should really be looking out for him. I'm not the biggest Italiano fan. I really have to be completely
Tudor
honest.
Stan, I love it. I love Tudor.
I really think that
Killing me, Marcella.
that he got a lot of hype this season. I'm not saying that what he did with Fiorentina isn't incredible, and the attacking football is beautiful, but I don't know. I really don't see Juve going that way, especially with Agnelli management, because also remember that Tudor was he was Pirlo's second.
He was.
And he already really has that relationship, and he was very, very, very upset to have lost that position when Pirlo left. So
you're depressing me, Marcella.
I know, but he could be back.
Right.
You never know.
Okay, Joe, give me your gut reaction. What team?
I would love Tudor to coach Juve again, but I don't know if
let's be serious.
I don't know if that bridge has been burned. I bet you it's on the cards in the future. But in terms of teams, I've heard some rumblings that Atalanta's not exactly happy with Gasperini anymore. So I don't know if that might be a little bit of a jump in quality there. But I don't know. I think that still might be a stretch. I think that maybe it could be, but maybe he goes to the Prem. Maybe he could even go to the Bundesliga. But I bet you he stays in Serie A.
Okay.
Because I know that he just loves the league.
But I love it. So we got
Atalanta.
our last.
I would say Atalanta.
I think he needs a bigger. I think he needs a bigger challenge.
I like that. I think that's a really good show. I think Atalanta is a really interesting idea because they have a system in place. They have quality players in place. I like it. I like your show too, Marcella. I'm going to give you the last questions that we have from our friend Rami. This is a lot of questions, so I'm going to go one at a time. First question is, who disappointed? And this is Juve based. Who disappointed you the most? Who surprised you the most? I'll go first. Who disappointed me the most? Honestly, Moise Kean. I thought there was a lot more there. I think partially it was due to the fact that he wasn't getting consistent playing time. But even when he got his opportunities, he squandered them. He had some really good goal scoring opportunities that he just squandered. And maybe that has to do with form, but also at the same time, you have to create this form yourself. You have to start playing well to, break out of these, scoreless streaks. Who surprised me the most? I don't want to say he surprised me the most. I think he surprised our fan base the most because I've always been like the biggest preacher of him. Weston McKennie, I think, surprised everybody. For me, I always knew he had it in him to be a great player until he got hurt. I know he's got the grit. I know he's got the passion to be a great player. Honestly, I can't think of anybody else on Juve who really surprised me all that much. Maybe Zakaria? He surprised me. He came in and he was pretty impactful when he played. But Marcella, I'll let you touch on it real quick. Who disappointed you the most and who surprised you the most?
Who disappointed me the most? Oh boy, do we really want this list of players of who disappointed
No,
me the most
only
this
one,
year?
only one.
Only one.
Tough to choose. Probably
Who
Sandro or
disappointed
Rabiot.
me the most? Um, I really didn't want to say the exact same thing you said, but I think I'm also going to go with Keane. I thought Keane coming back this year, I thought he was going to be played on the team a little bit differently. I thought they were going to push him out to the wing the way he performed so well that way playing for PSG. And I really have never liked him as a player, but this year I really tried to give him my full confidence and he really, really let me down. This year I tried to give him a fresh slate and he did nothing with it.
Yeah.
So also going to say Keane, who surprised me the most? I think Danilo surprised me the most because
Okay.
Wow, good pick.
That's a great
I
pick.
think I think Danilo was had the biggest turnaround this year. And I really don't know if I would have been feeling this way if I didn't see how the Curva chanted for him when I went there early in the season in October when we had played so poorly against Sassuolo. When he came off, the way the Curva sang for him was really, really incredible. And from that moment on, I just kind of dedicated watching every single game to really, really how he played. And I think he really had an incredible peak this year. And I hope the peak continues for at least another 2 or 3 more years. But I think he's become an incredible leader on the team as well. I really think that next year, if we can turn it around, that with him and De Ligt, we're going to be just fine.
And Joe, I'm gonna give you a minute to give me because we're running low on time. I hate to say it, we're running low on time. I know the fans want more. We're running low on time for this episode. Give me your most disappointing player and your most surprising player.
Most disappointing player, I'll just say Keane because he's young and he missed so many sitters. Guy infuriated me. So yeah, definitely a big disappointment. Thought that he could do better. And biggest surprise, I'm gonna say Miretti. I honestly wasn't expecting him to get as many minutes as he did, and I think that he's proving to Allegri that you can play some youth players sometimes. So yeah,
awesome.
That's a good pick, Joe. That's also a very, very good
in my
pick.
head. Ake was kind of in the back of my head because when he played, Ake was pretty good. So shout out to Ake if you're watching the show, Ake. We love you. And then the other, sorry, Rami, I'm only gonna go after one more question because we're running low on time. What positions should Juve prioritize signing? For me, I'm gonna go quick. I think you need to go left back, right back, and left wing. I think those are the most pressing ones right now. Obviously, we got Pogba now. That's official, basically. We got Pogba. Just need, I think, a right back, a left back, and a left winger. I think we're good. Marcella, what do you think?
Oh man, Cliff, I don't really know if I believe that Pogba's as almost official, almost official as you just said. I think we really need to enforce the midfield. I mean, I really, really hope that Pogba comes.
Yeah.
They say it's like 80% there, but I hope we can push it the final 20. I mean, I have faith, but I mean, like everybody thought Mbappe was going to Madrid, and look how that turned out. So you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Other than that, left back, right back, I mean, you have to invest there this year. Otherwise, you're basically carrying Deshio on another 5-year contract, which can't happen.
That's disgusting.
So,
I don't even want to think about that.
I know, exactly. So, those are my picks, but I definitely think that aside from, the Pogba rumors that we need to continue enforcing in the midfield.
Awesome. I love it. Joe, give me yours.
Well, we definitely need another attacker. We got to replace Dybala. Another midfielder would be nice. But I think the biggest weaknesses we have right now are definitely the fullbacks. And I think that is the one thing that we can all agree on. Left back, right back, maybe a center back in there. to replace Chiellini. So we'll
We have
see what
Gotti
ends
coming
up
in. Don't
I was
forget.
about to say we have
Don't
happening.
for-
Gotti.
We do have Gotti
Don't
coming in,
forget,
but
we
I
have
feel like
Gotti coming in. Hopefully, if they don't loan him back out, but we do have Gotti coming in.
it's either that, I feel like that's going to happen, or he's going to be a bargaining chip to get a different player.
Yeah, a lot
So
of people
I don't
are
know.
saying that.
Who knows?
I really hope not.
Who knows? We'll
We'll see.
see. But that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much, Marcella and Joe, for joining us today. And thank you guys to the fans who make this possible. We wouldn't do this if it wasn't for you guys. So I'm going to wrap it up. Marcella, do you want to give the people where they can find you? Tell the people where they can find you at.
Well, first of all, thank you guys at OUVA Cast and Cliff and Joe for having me on tonight. It's really been incredible. Hope to see you guys again soon. And for everybody watching, I help run the Juventus Empire State Club. So you can find me on that Instagram. You can find me on Twitter under the same account. And, we hope to get some more, East Coast fans next season. So look forward to maybe seeing some new faces.
She got me, so there's one.
I got Joe, which was a big win. I got Joe.
About me.
I mean, you were on the fence until Joe said he was coming over.
Wow, you're supposed to keep that in the back room. You weren't supposed to say it.
I know, but Joe was my bargaining chip for that.
Oh, geez.
Bargaining chip.
Well,
Joe was my bargaining chip.
On that wonderful note, thank you guys so much, and have a great rest of your day or night, depending on where you live in the world. See you guys. Ciao a tutti.